This is Pentecost. Pentecost is 49 days after the resurrection of Jesus. The Greek word that we translate as resurrect also means awaken. So anytime the word resurrection was written in ancient Greek, it also means to awaken. But remember that 49 days. And then we come to Buddhism, where Gautama meditates underneath the Bodhi tree for 49 days and then becomes the Buddha. And according to Buddhist tradition, when you die, you pass through what they call the bardo. Catholics may refer to this as purgatory, but this image is a depiction of the Buddhist bardo and all of the gods that you must be judged by as you pass through the bardo. My point is to say that upon death, the Buddhists believe that there is a 49-day period as you pass through the bardo. Now, in anatomy, 49 days after conception is the day in which the embryo becomes a fetus. The fingers and toes and eyes begin to develop. Oh, and so does the pineal gland. Now, speaking of the pineal gland, let's talk about DMT, or dimethyltryptamine. This is a very powerful psychedelic, the prototype of its class, and it's chemically related to LSD. It exists both endogenous, inside our bodies, and exogenous, outside of our bodies. Actually, it can be found almost anywhere in nature where there is life. But it can especially be found within the cerebral spinal fluid of the human brain. So keep that in mind. 4 LSD-like compounds exist in humans. This isn't new stuff, and I'm not making this up. This is from the Boston Globe, 1976-1978. The progression of this information can be found in a DVD called The Spirit Molecule, produced by Dr. Rick Strassman. One of the men that's frequently interviewed in this DVD is Dr. Dennis McKenna. I've also interviewed him several times for my films and my research. And during one of my interviews, I asked,
where is DMT found in nature? Well, a better question would be, where is it not found in nature? I mean, this is really interesting to me. The fact that DMT is so ubiquitous in nature, and it is from the chemical standpoint, structurally, it's the simplest of the psychedelics. It's a very, very simple compound. And in terms of biochemistry, it's only 2 steps away from tryptophan. Tryptophan is an amino acid. It's one of the essential amino acids. So it is universal. All living things have tryptophan. Now, not all living things have DMT, probably, but the enzymes that convert tryptophan to DMT, there are 2 main enzymes in this process, are also universal. I mean, I don't know how chemical we want to get here, but the basic idea is there's an enzyme that takes off the acid group of the amino acid, so it turns it from an amino acid into an amine. And then there's another enzyme that puts methyl groups onto the amine. So you get tryptophan, and then you get tryptamine, and then you get dimethyltryptamine, which is what DMT is. And this goes on, I think, very commonly. Well, these enzymes are certainly common. I mean, they're common in all cells practically. Do all organisms contain DMT? I think it's possible that all organisms might contain traces of DMT. There are many plants that contain DMT. We know of at least a couple hundred, and that's only because we've looked. You know, there are probably thousands of plants. There are, in fact, My suspicion is that because tryptophan is so easily converted to DMT, I think if you went out with a sufficiently sensitive instrument, mass spectrometer or whatever, and just started sampling plants at random and shoving those through your gas chromatograph or whatever you're using, you would find traces of DMT in every plant. And you would also find it, we know it's very widespread in animals too. So we know it's in amphibians, we know it's in mammals, including us. We know it's in marine organisms, we know it's in fish. So it's odd that, well, maybe it's not odd. It's just a fact of nature that it's all over the place. And probably is about as close to being universal as anything is.
The staff is the spinal column, and the wings are associated with and represent the ventricular system of the brain. And these sacs are filled with cerebral spinal fluid that contains the extremely psychedelic substance DMT. DMT and 5-MeO-DMT can be found in the cerebral spinal fluid. This is well established. The cerebral spinal fluid is in blue here, surrounding and protecting the brain. Your brain is literally floating in DMT. Here's another image of the brain, and you can see the outline there of the ventricular system. Here I've made that a little bit more easy to see. And here you can kind of see where I'm going with the symbolism of this third eye DMT manufacturing facility within our brain. What a wonderful amalgamation of symbolism of this all-seeing eye. It truly sees inside of your person. And that's what the all-seeing eye truly is. Here is Odin. And you see that he has lost an eye. He has one eye covered. And so does Woden. Woden has Wotan. All the same character. But what is happening here is he has one eye that is looking inward and one eye that is looking outward into the world. So he has this all-seeing eye ability to see within himself and to navigate within the world. Santa Claus, the shaman, is also winking at you, as if he has a secret, and as if he is carrying this symbol, as with many other symbols, that parallels Odin. So it really doesn't matter who the character is, because it represents us. The only boundaries that exist in this world are boundaries that we have built with words. Because if you cut to the core of it and consider pantheism, language and description is really the only thing that truly exists. One way to utilize meditation and eliminate the sense of the self and the body is with an isolation tank. Because any time that you're sitting or even laying down to meditate, gravity is always going to imprison your consciousness within the confines of your body. And this is the very reason isolation tanks were invented. This gives you the ability to do what a shaman does, and not just think outside the box, but think outside the body. Over 1/2 ton of salt is added to the inside of this tank, and then it's filled with water up to a certain level, and that water is adjusted to body temperature. And the salt water solution is so dense that when you get inside, you don't touch the bottom of the tank. You begin to float. The tank door closes, and it closes out any source of light. Your ears are below the water, so all sound is blocked out. And regardless of the smell, your sense of smell is gone because the olfactory senses really only detect change in smell. So as long as nothing changes, You're not going to smell anything anyway. So this is a method of cutting off all sensory input to the body and just exploring the self. This is a method of preparing your mind for that state of crossing over when you die. This is preparation for death. I think this is very important. This is ego death. Because as your mental grocery list is being filled, and you go back and forth between trying to let go, trying to clear your mind, trying to let go, and then trying to clear your mind again. This process sorts out some of the subconscious issues that you may have never thought to take the time to deal with. You know, it sounds cliche, but it's like layers of an onion. It's too difficult for you to get to the core of yourself with all of those layers of distractions. So this is more of a method and a technique, something that you have to master. None of us are great at sex the first time we try, and none of us are going to be great at forcing an out-of-body experience the first time we try. These things take a little finesse. So this ego death really has nothing to do with being egotistical. These two fighters are about to go at it. You know, perhaps getting your ass kicked in front of millions of people is a form of ego death, but it isn't the ego that I'm trying to relate to here. I'm talking about the kind of ego death that's more of a sudden realization of pantheism. A sudden realization that you are a part of the all. We're all connected. That's what the little prodigy meant by there is no spoon. There is no you and there is no me. We're all a part of something greater than we can comprehend. That's why we spend all of our time describing everything that we see with language. As we experience life, we and our ancestors have, by nature, given a word for everything that we've discovered. In other words, we've given a word for every degree of separation from the all that we've ever found. No matter how large or small the mass is, whether it's a galaxy, a sun, the atom, a thought, we've given it a name.